What's going on, everybody? My name is Alonso. I'm here at the park with this 100-meter long line set up, and today I'm going to be talking about how I like to train for big highline. To summarize this video in just a few seconds, the answer is long lining. So it's a known fact that long lines in the park are much harder to walk than long high lines up in the sky, at least physically speaking. So it makes sense that if you want to walk big high lines, and if you want to train for that, you should go out in long line, right? Well, technically speaking, yes, but there is a big problem when we actually talk about training. I'm going to give a really bad example, and it may be a little bit controversial and maybe even offend some people out there. Let's say you've got a squat rack at your house, right? And you want to get really good at doing squats. Doing a half rep for a squat isn't going to help you very much. And it's the exact same thing when you're out long lining with your buddies. In my really bad example, just like half repping a squat is going to do nothing for you, walking a very short distance on the line like this is also going to do very little for you. I mean, let's think about it for a second. If you're training to walk a kilometer-long high line, yet you only walk 100 meters on a long line to go, for example, one way, and that's it, you're not really going to get the best training you can out of that, because yeah, you're training your balance and you're slacklining and you're out having fun, but there's a difference between going out and having a lot of fun versus training and really pushing yourself. Now, I do believe you can do both, but I think it has to be said that there is a difference to each of those things. And my personal belief is that most people go out to long line in the park with their buddies and do the former and choose to have fun rather than to train. And before I move on with this video, I want to say that there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I myself love to go to the park with my friends, have a good time, sit on a nice blanket, take turns on the slack line. It's a great time, don't get me wrong. However, for training big high lines, you gotta train. You gotta push yourself, and you gotta walk on these things back and forth until essentially you've walked the same distance you're training for on a high line, which, believe me, if you walk a kilometer back and forth on a long line like this, you're gonna be worked. Now, before I move on with this video, I wanna quickly say that this video is not intended for those of you that are pushing to send your first high line. Sorry, for those of you pushing to send your first long line, because clearly, if you're still trying to send your first long line and you're not quite there yet, keep pushing that. You know, you're not gonna be walking back and forth on these if you can't even walk it one way. So I wanna make that very clear, that this is more for those people that are already sending big lines and wanna push to that next level, like kilometers or bigger than that, you know, those lines that are really intimidating, and you know, who knows? If you're still in that bracket and you're still trying to send your first long line and or high line, then keep pushing, you're doing great. You're gonna kill it, just keep doing what you're doing. Once you get some more sends under your belt and you're walking a little more, then this video will be directly applicable to you. So that's my strategy. I simply try to walk the exact same distance that I'm training for up high, and I try to walk that in the park. So 5 laps on this thing, a couple times today. And if I'm really training for a big line, I try to do this at least once a week, and I try to do it at least twice while I'm at the park. Now, for me, I'm a bit of a faster walker compared to most. So to walk a kilometer on something like this would take me maybe 30 to 45 minutes, give or take. So if I'm doing that twice, this is at least an hour commitment of just me on this line. So it's not to say that you can't bring all your buddies with you, but if you guys are going out to train, it's probably a good idea to rig multiple lines rather than have 5 people waiting an hour each for their turn on one long line. So again, going back to that beginning portion of the video, make sure you know the difference between training and having fun, because yes, you can do them at the same time, but they are also 2 very different things. I've got a relatively easy to walk webbing here. So I've got half Dyneema, half levitation. It's relatively light. It's a Dyneema polyester blend. Because it's a Franken line, it is a little bit tough, but it's not as hard as, for example, saying marathon, which is a 60 gram per meter webbing. And that's actually the next step to the training actually. Once you can do the kilometer that, or whatever length you're training for easily, like it doesn't cost you any effort whatsoever, make your webbings harder to walk. You can do this several ways. Pick harder webbings, for example, upgrade in weight. So once I get really good at walking this, I might want to upgrade to something like Blue or Feather Pro. And then once that gets really easy, I might want to use something a little heavier like Marathon. And then if that got really easy as well, I would bring out the granddaddy of slackline webbings and rig Kill Bill. Now I know Kill Bill's a little hard to get nowadays, but that's just what I would do. You could also double up your webbings and make it really, really hard to walk. And believe me, if you can walk a kilometer back and forth on Kill Bill, and that's easy for you, sending a kilometer up high is gonna be a walk in the park. No pun intended. With all that being said, that's it for this video. I meant for this to be a short one today. Remember, discipline and repetition are absolutely key. Go out and do this at least once a week. And if you put in the work in the park and really, really train, you're gonna surprise yourself in the best ways possible and find yourself sending big highlines up high really, really easily. It's honestly quite insane what practicing in the park can do for your abilities up high. If you enjoyed or learned something new, don't forget, hit that like button for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss whenever I post. I wanna thank all my patrons on this channel for your support. I really appreciate it. As always, love you guys, and I'll see you on the next video.